In an electrician's workshop, a technician was configuring an external power supply unit when it suddenly exploded violently, with the top casing blasting off and striking him in the face. This incident clearly demonstrates the extreme explosion hazards of working on energized electrical equipment and the catastrophic consequences of capacitor discharge or short-circuit failures. Power supplies contain high-voltage capacitors that store dangerous electrical charges, even after disconnection from the mains power. The exploding top casing striking the face could cause severe facial fractures, eye injuries, including permanent blindness from metal fragments, burns from arc flash, and traumatic brain injury from blunt force impact. At a gasoline station, a fuel tanker operator was conducting product transfer operations while attempting to light a cigarette next to the vehicle. He accidentally dropped a lit match, which ignited spilled gasoline on the ground beneath the tanker, causing fire to spread rapidly. The operator immediately attempted to extinguish the flames. This incident clearly demonstrates catastrophic violations of fundamental fuel handling safety protocols and the extreme fire and explosion hazards at fuel transfer operations. Open flames, including matches, lighters, cigarettes, or any ignition sources, are strictly forbidden in fuel transfer zones where gasoline vapors accumulate, creating explosive atmospheres requiring only tiny sparks to ignite. In a toilet paper manufacturing facility, a worker was cleaning a lathe machine using a cloth or towel when the material became caught in the rotating mechanism, pulling his hand into the machinery with it. A coworker witnessed the entanglement and rushed to assist, but was unsure how to respond or free the trapped worker. This incident clearly demonstrates the fatal consequences of cleaning operating machinery and inadequate emergency response training. Cleaning operating machinery with cloths, rags, towels, or brushes creates extreme entanglement risks as rotating components grab materials and pull workers' hands into nip points, rollers, and pinch zones, causing multiple injuries. In an apartment complex parking lot, a resident was walking toward his vehicle when a light pole suddenly collapsed and fell, striking him in the shoulder area and narrowly missing his head. Nearby witnesses immediately came to his assistance and helped him stand up while he remained conscious. This incident clearly demonstrates the catastrophic consequences of inadequate infrastructure maintenance and the life-threatening hazards created by deteriorating pole structures. All light poles, utility poles, and vertical structures require regular inspection programs identifying corrosion at ground level, structural deterioration, foundation damage, or weakening before catastrophic failure occurs. In a new automotive workshop, workers heard unusual sounds coming from an electrical generator enclosure. They approached to investigate when the unit suddenly exploded, blasting the access panel door off with tremendous force and striking the worker positioned in front of it. This incident clearly demonstrates the extreme explosion hazards of electrical equipment experiencing internal failures and the critical importance of maintaining safe distances from malfunctioning equipment. When electrical equipment produces unusual sounds, including buzzing, arcing, popping, or mechanical grinding, these indicate serious internal failures requiring immediate shutdown, evacuation, and professional assessment. Workers must never approach or investigate energized malfunctioning equipment. In a plastic wrap manufacturing facility, a new employee attempted to wipe down thin plastic strips being processed by a rotating lathe when his hands became caught in the mechanism and were pulled into the machinery. He was drawn into the rollers and spun around multiple times, becoming wrapped in plastic film. A nearby coworker immediately activated the emergency stop button, halting the equipment. This incident clearly demonstrates the fatal consequences of inadequate training and attempting to clean operating machinery without proper lockout procedures. All new workers must receive comprehensive safety training covering machinery hazards, lockout procedures, and prohibited actions before being permitted near production equipment. At a residential roofing project, a worker was positioned atop an unstable scaffolding structure. As he attempted to descend, his movement caused the entire scaffold to become unbalanced and tip over, bringing both the worker and the scaffolding structure down to the ground. This incident clearly demonstrates the catastrophic consequences of improperly assembled or unstable scaffolding and inadequate safety inspections before use. All scaffolding must be erected by qualified competent persons following manufacturer specifications with proper base plates on level stable ground, adequate bracing and cross-bracing, secure component connections, and guardrails on all platforms preventing falls. At a construction site, a group of workers were manually carrying and repositioning a tall scaffolding structure while unclear about the final placement location. As they prepared to set it down, upper scaffold sections became unstable and tipped, causing the entire assembled structure to collapse, with one worker caught beneath the falling components. This incident clearly demonstrates multiple critical violations, including moving assembled scaffolding, inadequate planning, and unstable scaffold configurations. Proper relocation procedures require dismantling the scaffold to component level, transporting pieces separately, and reassembling using qualified personnel at the destination with proper base leveling, bracing, and securing. In an automotive repair shop, a small truck was raised on a vehicle lift in an improperly balanced position. A mechanic working underneath the rear section grabbed onto something at the vehicle's back and swung his body weight, causing the unbalanced truck to shift. The rear end descended with the mechanic, and the vehicle fell onto him, pinning him underneath. Coworkers in the area immediately responded and helped lift the vehicle enough for him to crawl out alive. This incident clearly demonstrates the life-threatening dangers of improperly balanced lifted vehicles and inadequate secondary support systems during under-vehicle work. Workers must avoid creating dynamic loads or forces that could destabilize lifted vehicles. In a metal works factory, a janitor was sweeping the floor beside a large, heavy metal wheel that had been left standing in an unstable upright position. Focused on his task, he continued working close to the wheel, unaware that it had begun to slowly shift. Moments later, the massive wheel suddenly tipped over and fell toward him, striking the worker as it hit the ground. This incident clearly demonstrates the extreme dangers of unsecured heavy materials and workers operating within the fall zones of unstable loads. Large cylindrical objects like metal wheels can easily roll or tip once their balance is disturbed. On a newly paved road, a man was walking along the fresh surface while road work was actively underway nearby. At the same time, a road roller began driving down the roadway at speed in his direction. The man noticed the oncoming machine and attempted to move out of its path, but he was unable to escape in time. The heavy roller continued forward and ran over him. This incident clearly demonstrates the deadly risks of poor work zone control and pedestrians entering active equipment paths. Heavy construction machinery has limited visibility and long stopping distances, especially on fresh pavement.